It's gonna be a football game tonight now, no doubt. It's gonna be a football game here. Okay, I done been here. All right, let's go, baby.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
And the Ohio State Buckeyes are the first national champions of the playoff era.
Ladies and gentlemen, football to football.
Your host, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Randy Isbell.
Alright, hello and welcome to another Football to Football, where we are doing our NFL Week 7 recap episode. And of course, we will also start things here in just a minute or so with our Ravens Cardinals Monday Night Football post-game, which Gary and I did sort of like calling the last few minutes and an actual post-game unravel already, but we'll do a shortened version here. Of course, we'll have Randy, so that'll make it even better. But I am your host, Sean Garmer, and I've already introduced the guys. But how's everybody doing? How was their week?
I'd be better if Dwayne Harris was a Cowboy.
That's exactly what I was thinking, doing that game.
That'd be way better if I didn't call exactly how the Jets game was going to go for me.
Oh, all of
that
us
always
are.
Sucks, right? Like you go, I'm going to be objective and go, well, we're going to lose like this, and man, we did.
Yep, it's just I think both of our teams this week had wide receivers make bad decisions, and that affected the game. So.
Yes, very much so. But we'll get to that. First, we need to go over this Ravens and Cardinals game, which was much better than we thought it was going to be. Came down to the wire, about 10 seconds left. And, oh man, I had the guy's name, and now I can't believe I freaking forgot. Why did this just happen? Anyway, I think it's 22 for the Arizona Cardinals. Made the interception that won the game after Joe Flacco had done a ridiculous, was that 4th down? That Gilmore caught that pass that got him down to the 5-yard line, or was that?
It was like a third down. It was third down.
But either way, I mean, that was just like a tossing it up there. Gilmore catches it, goes down to the 5. They go down to, it was 2nd and goal. An interception happens, throwing it to Gilmore again, up almost in a similar fashion. But, yeah, just Ravens couldn't do anything running the ball, which put a lot of pressure on Flacco. Cardinals defense stepped up too. What did you, any thoughts on any of that, Randy? Or?
I just thought this whole game was just weird. Obviously, I'm at work for the first half of it, so I don't get to pay attention as closely as I want, but it seemed like every time I looked up, Arizona was controlling the game, but they weren't able to really pull away with it. They just kind of let Baltimore stay in it, and it comes down to, you're up 16, you give up the touchdown and 2-point conversion, and then Carson Palmer makes a terrible decision to throw it away, which stops the clock and still lost it down instead of just taking the sack or whatever else to, let the clock run out, which gave Baltimore their chance. And, a great play by the defense ends up winning the game. But it was just one of those weird things that, I'm going to say this a lot, where it looked like one team was completely better than the other one, but we ended up with a really close game score-wise.
Yeah, I was gonna, when you told me that was your theme for the week, I was like, I don't blame, yeah, that's kind of how this week has been. But Yeah, I mean the Ravens are now 1-6. I think, Gary, we can finally stick a fork in them, right?
It's sad to say. I think we can. And the reason I say that is not because, I don't have faith that they couldn't turn things around. It's just that their schedule coming, in the near future is still, tough. I mean, they do have San Diego coming up. They have Jacksonville. Both teams are not slouches. I think both teams, can legitimately lose, but also beat Baltimore. And St. Louis is one of the big ones I would circle on this list. Not only them, but Miami is definitely more improved. Seattle is, got a great defense. And so, I mean, these are some teams that I really feel like they're going to struggle with. Not only that, but Pittsburgh is always a tough game. So, I mean, it would be hard for me to believe that they can come out swinging and just win, all the rest of their games. I don't imagine they're winning 9 straight. You know what I mean? So that's the way I feel about it.
Well, Randy, after what we saw it wasn't like they just totally caved in and completely always pressured Flacco and everything, but from what I saw from Tyrann Mathieu, just constantly ball hawking and just this defense, I think it's pretty scary. I think it's something that now you're going to be worried about this defense just as much as you are that offense, and that doesn't seem like a really great combination when you're an opposing team wanting to play Arizona. I mean, is this defense something you're worried about now?
Yeah, I know a lot of people were worried about the defense kind of taking a step back with some of the players they lost in the offseason and Todd Bowles going to the Jets and all of that, but they have started to get into a stride. They are very ball hungry. They attack the ball. They're going to make you turn the ball over. And I was really impressed with how they stopped Justin Forsett in this game. I thought, if anything, for Baltimore that they could get going, it was going to be in the running game, and they completely got shut down. So,
yeah, it was. I mean, that's the thing. Flacco had a lot of pressure on himself to have to make a lot more plays than you really want him to. And to his credit, I mean, he did what he could. He led them down that drive. Yeah, he makes that interception, but I mean, it's a 2nd and goal, and you're trying to make things happen. Maybe you shouldn't throw that fast. You've got 2 more. You probably got at least another play if you just throw it away somewhere where, someone's not going to grab it. But, it is what it is. You still have to get the 2-point conversion, which those are always anomalies, even though they did get one to get them in that position. But I think, people that are just, if you're ragging on Flacco in this game, I think you're the wrong person to hate on. I mean, this is just one of those things that happens it seems like this is just a theme for the Ravens all year. All they do is lose close games. It just kind of makes you, does it make you sad for them a little bit? Like they just can't win these close games?
Yeah, it's crazy to think. I mean, they've been so close in so many games. It just a couple plays difference, and we're talking about a playoff contender. But instead, here we are at 1-6, talking about how one missed field goal they are away from 0-7. So it's weird when you have so many close games like that.
Gary, I mean, Baltimore's defense just the special teams blocked the punt. They got them where they were. But that defense was having a hard time stopping Chris Johnson, Andre Ellington, almost pretty much anyone. It seemed like the only times that they were able to really put it down is if Palmer just made an incompletion or happened to get sacked.
Yeah, exactly. And they only got to Palmer twice. And that's, an issue. And you're right. The running game for the Cardinals was, going well. And, let's look at it. Chris Johnson did have a big play. Baltimore thought they had him stopped. I mean, we're talking the difference of, him getting 122-some yards besides just getting 60. So, I mean, the stat sheet is a little bit uglier than I think what really was there. But they still couldn't stop the guys, running the ball. And I really feel like, Baltimore is what we kind of thought they were. I think they're struggling without, their big player Suggs. And, they've lost a few other key players. So I have a hard time, sitting here saying that, oh man, they really let you down, because I think you saw what they are, and they're just about an average defense. They're nothing special. They're definitely not the Ravens we used to know on defense.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, this is just one of those, again, for the Ravens. They lost a close game. Cardinals win a game that they really needed to win. I think because this puts them in a good position with, yes, they have the Browns coming up. Yes, they have a couple of them, but they got some big division games coming up. And any win at this point really helps them. I think this is one of those where if the Ravens win here, you sort of still have a shot because, maybe not at winning the division, but perhaps the Bengals win next week and you shoot everybody down some more, and it's up to you to win the rest of your games. But well, we'll have to see what things look like for both teams when we do our Friday morning show previewing Week 8. Can't believe we're almost getting to that point where it's halfway through the season, guys. It hasn't seemed like it's been 7 weeks already.
Yeah.
It's gone by fast.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy. You start the season, you go, oh, it's a long season, but then before you even know it, it's already like Christmas time and you're talking about the playoffs, and it's like, damn, where'd all that go? But either way, we should get started on our NFL Week 7 recap stuff here, since we already ended it with the Monday night game. Well, let's start with our game of the week. Your New York Jets, Randy, taking on the Patriots. This was a tight game, as you pretty much laid out.
Yeah, it's painful, I guess. But in a way, it was all right. I mean, I kind of came into this knowing that, listen, the Patriots are a better team than the Jets. So I was pretty sure that a loss was in my future. But listen, the Jets come out and they fumbled on the second play of the game. And then the defense stops them for a field goal. And then from there, the whole rest of that first quarter, the Jets completely dominate. I mean, they go on, it was a 15-play drive for a field goal, and then they go down for another 14-play drive and get a touchdown. And you're like, all right, the offense is clicking, and they're doing exactly what they need to, which is semi-surprising because Chris Ivory on the first play looks like he injures his hamstring. So he plays the rest of the game, but he just doesn't look right the rest of the time. So they kind of had to change up their game plan. Speaking of game plan changes, the Patriots basically went, well, we're not going to be able to run against the Jets defense, and Dion Lewis is out, so screw the run game. They threw the ball 54 times. They had 5 designed run plays. That's it. Everything else was Tom Brady dropping back. So much so that Tom Brady, in the first time of his illustrious career, was his team's leading rusher. So they came in with a game plan. It worked out really well. The one thing that I would have liked to have seen different, I mean, there no excuses. The better team won and stuff. But Calvin Pryor was doing an amazing job slowing down. You're not stopping Rob Gronkowski, but he did a great job of slowing him down. And he goes out with an ankle injury, and then it seemed like the next 2 drives, it was just Brady to Gronk all day long, and Jets just had no answer for it. So I would like to have seen how things would have worked if Calvin Pryor doesn't get injured. But Tom Brady is Tom Brady. He's going to find a way to win. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league for a reason. So in the end, I can't be too upset about the loss. But Sean, I want to see what you think about this. To me, I'm very competitive. And to me, there's no such thing as a good loss. I mean, you hear that sometimes.
I've been hearing that all Sunday about the Jets fans thinking it's a good win or a good loss.
There's no such thing as a good loss. A loss is a loss. You can come out of it with other good things, but the loss part is never good. But that's where my question to you is what good can the Jets take from this game?
Well, they kept it close. They were leading at certain points. That's also without Chris Ivory being a main focus of the game because he was hurt and only got like less than 20 yards. I mean, sucked for fantasy teams, of which he's like on numerous ones of mine, but you know, that's really positive for the Jets, that you're able to keep up with, you know, your division leading, and not only that, but an undefeated team like the Patriots. It shows that you deserve to have the record that you have, and that you should know that, okay, let's see what happens if we can keep going this way. If we make it to the playoffs, you know, playoffs is a different scenario. It's one game, and, you know, more things are on the line at that point.
Yeah, on the other side, again, like I said, the Patriots just being the Patriots, they find ways to win. They were at a point where they were down in early in the fourth quarter and facing a 3rd and 17, and of course they converted because that's what the Patriots do. So Gary, got to ask you, what is the next big test for the Patriots? I think when we first talked about possible undefeated seasons, this was kind of the first game that was like, okay, here's a giant test for them. Well, they survived it. Is Thursday a big test, or are you looking farther down the schedule?
No, I really do think Thursday's a test. The one thing the Patriots have going for them is they do get a chance to play this at Gillette Stadium. You know, this isn't at Miami. I think that would be a whole different set of circumstances. I think we'd be looking more of not a sure win, but a game where Miami would have a definite big shot at completing and winning that game. I look at, you know, it's still, even though it is a home game, there's always that possibility. Miami's coming in with a lot of confidence. I think that they are ready for a game like this now, especially with a new attitude. Man, Dan Campbell, this guy is just, it's almost turned this organization around just in one day. It feels like, I know that's not true, but it just feels like that. But, you know, I still don't have confidence. I didn't have confidence, you know, in the Jets, even though I thought they had the biggest chance to win this week. So that I feel the exact same way with Miami. I think Miami's a great team to really get it, you know, to face off against these Patriots. The rest of the schedule, though, you made a good point. You know, of course, you know, we got the NFC East is still out there for them to play. I don't think that's a problem at all for these Patriots, and Buffalo to me right now is definitely not an issue. We got Denver on the schedule still, and that's one that I think we can circle. And of course, you know, the last game of the season against your Jets. I mean, I think they still have a shot now. You know, the Patriots have to go up to New York. So, I mean, that's an issue. You know, I think that those are two teams that I'm going to circle right now that could be possible losses, or actually maybe three. I'll put Denver, but I think Miami and the Jets are the best opportunity right now for the Patriots to have a loss.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of interested. They actually end the season going to New York and then to Miami, two teams that, with the way the Miami has turned things around, two teams that you feel are going to be in the wild card hunt. And obviously, if the Patriots are 14-0 at that time, are they sitting? The other two teams obviously not only want to be the one team that beats them, but are playing for their playoff lives. So if they end up going 14-0, those last 2 weeks are going to be crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, let's move on to the next game here. We'll talk about one of the other Florida teams. It was the London game, as Buffalo Bills traveled to London along with the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though that's pretty much their home away from home, or could be their home if, you know, the NFL has their way in a few years. Either way, but yeah, this was a wild and crazy game to watch at 9:30 in the morning, as E.J. Manuel still starting for the Buffalo Bills and Blake Bortles taking the mantle there for the Jacksonville Jaguars as he has all season. As it wasn't Bortles who we're really talking about, it was Jacksonville's defense that finally showed up. They forced a fumble for a touchdown. They had a pick six, and they had another interception all in the first half there, where they were leading like 27-13 when they got to the half. They also sort of forced a fumble that led to ending the game, and they sacked E.J. Manuel 4 times. T.J. Yeldon also helped out. He had 115 yards. He had a touchdown on a 28-yard run, and he was really important in the passing game. So defense and running game, which has been such a big factor for other teams, finally becomes a factor for Jacksonville, and that's good on their part, because last week when they didn't have Yeldon, they were horrible. But, you know, this is one of those games, like I mentioned, you're not really talking that much about Bortles except for the fact that he had the dumb pick six that basically makes it to where Buffalo completes the comeback and takes the lead, he did go and, get that game-winning touchdown and everything. But still, Bortles making mistakes that hurts his team. And at least he admits it in the post-game press conference that the offense should have played much better. This is one of those things you have to wonder if Tyrod Taylor would have been playing in this game if you're talking about a completely different scenario for the Buffalo Bills, because E.J. Manuel commits 2 turnovers of the 4 turnovers. And just they both directly resulted in Jacksonville getting points. It's not like they had to go down the field and get points. They were right there. Pick 6, fumble recovery, touchdown. And Manuel was also 1 for 8 passing, 3rd and 4th downs. Terrible. It's not going to get it done. I think for me the loss is on E.J. Manuel. But with Tyrod Taylor set to come back after the bye week. This is your division, Randy. You think the Bills can make a run with Taylor back?
I think they're going to be an improved team. Obviously, E.J. Manuel's not that great, and Tyrod Taylor has shown that he's a very capable quarterback. But with the Patriots being the Patriots and the Jets looking like they're a great team, and Miami all of a sudden turning everything around, if you believe that or not, I still think even with Tyrod Taylor that Buffalo will finish in 4th in this division.
Well, Gary, as a surprise, maybe not so much with some of the teams, but the Jaguars are the only team to win in the AFC South this week. Should we start considering that almost anyone can? I mean, it seems like almost anyone could be a contender sometimes, but with the Jaguars' offense the way it is, and if the defense continues to wake up, maybe this is not a one-game anomaly here. I kept hearing something about Gus Bradley saying they have grit, they have all this stuff, they've been training to get the defense to do what they did today. Do you think you can take them seriously as a contender in the division with Andrew Luck having all these woes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can't consider them a contender. I mean, they're right there tied up with Houston. I mean, and, look, like you said, Andrew Luck and his team is only 1 game ahead of them. And when we did the preview for this, I mean, I know I personally had, the Colts running away with this thing, just kind of laughing at the other teams in this division. And the Jaguars are right there. They have every opportunity to be in the tops of this division. I just feel like that, they've got something. I don't know if it's enough. I'm not sold that they're still going to win this division, but are they a contender? Yeah, sure.
All right, fair enough. I think they are too, just based off of, as long as Bortles doesn't cost the team games, they're actually pretty decent. The thing is, Jacksonville actually finally proved they can be good when the defense steps up and does things.
Mm-hmm. So. And we've always said that they're a young team. They're a very young team, and they've got some great players. And they've been sadly, hit by the injury bug at times. And the number 1 draft pick, the guy that they had set for their number 1 pass rusher, the guy that was going to help them, got hurt before the season even started. They have another few injuries, offense to defense. So they've struggled. But this is a young, hungry team, and you got to watch out for them.
Well, speaking of a young team and a team in the AFC South, Tennessee Titans were at home and they were receiving the team from the other South, the NFC South, Atlanta Falcons. Randy, the score doesn't say that a whole lot happened, but what did happen?
Nothing. No, I joke, but holy crap, what a boring game this was. But this is what Atlanta wants to do, because they know that their man, Matt Ryan, sucks outdoors.
I don't understand how, going outdoors makes such a difference for, one...
I don't know. That 3-mile-an-hour wind that was probably going through Tennessee just messed everything up. But for whatever reason, Matt Ryan sucks when he goes outdoors. The scores just completely change, and I can't explain it, but that's just how it is. And now, so here you are with a backup quarterback in Mettenberger against a backup version of Matt Ryan, and that's kind of how you explained this game. Both quarterbacks throw 2 interceptions, though I will say Mettenberger looked okay. One of his interceptions was on a ridiculous tip, or excuse me, when he was getting hit. His lineman gets pushed up against him as he was trying to throw the ball, and the other one he forced, but it was late in the game, and he had to make a play, and it just didn't work. So I can't blame him there, but I think the big story in this entire game, I'm starting to be a little worried about the Atlanta Falcons. I picked this team to win the division. I mean, Carolina has completely impressed me and surprised me, but I picked Atlanta to win this division because I thought they were going to become a more complete team. And really what they've done is become a 3-man team on the offensive side. I mean, we've completely lost Roddy White. They've completely lost Tevin Coleman. Jacob Tammy's a no-show anymore. Their offense, it's Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman, and Julio Jones. You stop those 3 guys, they can't do anything. And it's working for them. They're 6-1, but you have to be a little worried. Again, Carolina's undefeated. New Orleans is starting to improve. It could be tough sledding in the second half of the season for Atlanta. And Gary, I got to ask you, bringing up the goofy outdoor stuff for Matt Ryan in Atlanta, but listen, they're not scoring on the road. So are you worried about the road struggles, or do you look at it and see that they're still 3-1 on the road and go, well, they're struggling offensively, but the defense is doing a great job in finding a way to win?
Of course it's a worry. Anytime that you have a team that is not performing the way that they are at home and they're away, that's a big issue. You've got to win no matter where you're at, home or away. You've got to take advantage of anything you can. Yeah, sure, they're hanging in there. But, I think they're also, talking about hanging in there with teams that really, if they're supposed to be the team they're supposed to be, they should be blowing away these teams on the road, and they're not. They're just not doing it. They're not taking care of business. I think that New Orleans game showed you a little bit, of what's going to be upon them if they don't do better and they don't take advantage of the things they need to take advantage of. You're right. I think these, home games will be fine, but, look at their schedule. 3 of the last 5 games on this schedule, they're away, one of them being Carolina. Even Jacksonville could be a concern. So if defenses can finally shut down those 3 guys you just said, they're going to have their way with them, and especially when they're not playing at home. So I think we should be concerned. Now, do I really believe that Atlanta's out of it? No. I still think they're probably still the top in this division if they can continue and just keep the momentum they've got going.
And so I guess, Sean, I can ask you, you'd kind of brought up how the AFC South division is wide open. You can almost even say that this terrible Tennessee team has a chance with how bad it is. Is the AFC South the worst division in football history?
That's so hard to call with so many games left. Houston's now going to be without Arian Foster for the whole year. And we'll talk about that game in just a second, about how he was their offense for large portions of it. Just to me, that's going to be rough. We don't know what's going on with Andrew Luck, if that's going to be a season-long thing or if he's going to eventually get out of that funk, Jacksonville is what they are. The Tennessee should be okay when Mariota comes back, but they're still a young team that's got its issues, so who knows? But the NFC East is kind of giving them a run for their money right now with, some teams just don't want to win.
Well, well, yeah, but that's just more just maybe as far as mediocrity and a lot of them beating each other up. But the stat, and I just finally found it, I've been looking for it this entire time, that I had saw earlier, the AFC South is 4-15 when they're playing somebody outside of their division this year.
Wow. Jeez.
That's terrible. 4-15 when you're playing these.
According to the report, the worst season by a division was the 2008 NFC West that went 10-30, which was 25% winning percentage. The AFC South is on a 21% winning percentage. It's pretty ugly.
Jeez, that's terrible. Well, hopefully, some of the teams will start getting it and figuring out that they need to win if they want to do anything. I mean, it's amazing. We thought that division was going to be bad, but we thought that it'd just be, like Gary said, the Colts running away with it, not that all the teams are going to be bad. So, it's certainly just, wow. I don't know what's going on, but maybe they'll fix it. Who knows? But let's, I already mentioned a little bit of it, but let's get on with that Houston Texans visiting Miami. First game in Miami for Mr. Dan Campbell as the coach. And, man, this team went nuts. The game was 28-0 after the first quarter, 41-0 at the end of the half. Absolutely ridiculous. Tannehill had 4 touchdowns. One of them was absolutely one of those plays that will still be a play of the season when we're talking about the season being over. Landry freaking juking 5 or 6 guys to go from one end of the field to the other end of the field and then score on a 50-yard touchdown. Lamar Miller freaking ran off a almost 60-yard touchdown. Just Houston's defense. I don't know what was going on in the first half, but Lord, it's terrible. And by that point, what are you going to do? I mean, I'll give them credit. They came back. They tried to come back. They scored 26 points all in the second half. They sacked Tannehill. They had a fumble recovery. I mean, the thing was, on a lot of Houston's early drives, I sat there and counted, they had about 3 or 4 or 5, where it's either a penalty or just they would get a tip ball or somebody get tackled for loss, and it's 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14, 3rd and 12. You can't do that when you got Brian Hoyer, and your team is really, the offense is sometimes the strength of your team with Hopkins or whatever, but just having Hoyer start in 3rd and long so frequently at the beginning just kills your rhythm. Dolphins would constantly get the ball back, and at that point, what are you doing? I mean, and Ndamukong Suh had 2 sacks back to back at one point. It was a total just annihilation. Maybe the score makes it look better than it already was because the Dolphins scored a total of 3 points in the second half. But they didn't care at that point. They were really taking it easy. The defense was sort of just there. They were getting sacks when they could because the pass rush knew they were passing at that point. The big thing for Houston is about with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Arian Foster goes down by himself, torn ACL. Nobody knocked him down. Nobody tackled him. You can instantly see that the play's about to start. The play starts. He tries to take off. He goes down. And Gary, this is why, the coach said the game was all on him as to the fact that the team just wasn't ready and didn't come out playing well from the beginning. But how the hell do you leave Arian? Now listen, Arian Foster scored one of the touchdowns. Nate Washington also scored a couple touchdowns in total garbage time at that point. I mean, he was their offense for certain parts of the second half there, but how the hell do you leave Arian Foster, somebody that's so vital to your team, on the field still at that point?
I'm not really a proponent of your team's not doing well, take all your starters out. I'm just not one of those kind of guys. I really feel like no matter what, you got to keep the momentum going, whatever you can. I know they didn't have any momentum going for themselves, but you've got to keep your guys out there. You got to give them opportunities. That's the only way you're going to keep your team going. I just feel like if you take your players out in the third quarter, then everybody's like, oh, look, white flag, we give up. You don't want to set that precedent for your team no matter what. I don't care if it's the fourth quarter. Now, maybe, 5 minutes left in the game. That doesn't matter. That's not a white flag. That's just like, well, time's running out. We're done. I think you got to keep your guys in there, and that's not O'Brien's fault that Foster got hurt. That's a freak thing. It happens. Let's be honest. Foster may be looking at the end of his career. He can't stay healthy, and
third major surgery in 2 years.
I think that he's done. I really, really do. If he comes back from this, he needs to be the player of the century.
Well, also, I think I heard somebody else talking about it that, he has that mindset of, football is not everything for him.
Mm-hmm.
And if he feels like it's going to start getting to the point where it's not worth it to him, we could just see him retire.
Exactly, and I think that probably would be the right call. I love the guy. I think that he's an awesome player. I enjoy watching him play, but it's his health, and you never want to see somebody put their health at risk for a game. So, but back to O'Brien, I just want to mention this. It's tough to say. This is his first year. I feel bad. The guy's just had a terrible year. He's had a lot of things not go his way. Let's just look at it. The guy that was supposed to be the heir apparent for that quarterback spot, man, he may be more irresponsible than Johnny Manziel. Mallett is just showing up late. Had to fly his own self up to the game. That shows just total immaturity. Shows the lack of respect, and I think O'Brien's dealing with that on this team. And is it his fault? Yeah, partially, probably is his fault. But I think that he's got a lot on his plate. It's not all his fault. Some of it is.
Yeah, and Randy, if you're I already heard quite a few guys saying that this is unprecedented about this new coach bump. That, Dan Campbell seems to motivate this team like no other interim coach. I did mention last week that no interim coach had won a game since 2011 in the NFL. Now he's won 2. We already talked about the fact that, the Dolphins should be a test for the Patriots, but do you see this continuing against the Patriots?
Yeah, I think so, because, yes, it's unprecedented, but listen, before the season, everyone was picking Miami as kind of that sleeper team to possibly contend with New England and be a wild card team. So the way they started out was disappointing, and, they got rid of the coach, and they rejuvenated the players, and now they're playing the way that a lot of people thought they were going to. So, to me, yes, even though it's unprecedented, it's not like, well, Dan Campbell came in here and is making a miracle happen. It's like, no, he came in and it's making what was supposed to happen.
Exactly. These players are actually pretty damn good players. Joe Flacco just wasn't getting the best out of them, wasn't clicking into what made them tick and go, okay, all right, guys, go out there and perform. Now, let's be honest here. They haven't played anyone. They have played a gimped up Tennessee team, and they've played Houston. The real test will be on Thursday. Can they compete with? I'm not saying they got to win. If they lose, at Gillette Stadium, I don't think it's a big deal. But if you lose 41-0 to the Patriots, and not by near the same score as the Jets lost, I think that's the bigger deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm all about you got to beat the people in front of you, beat the lesser teams, whatever. But you've also got to be able to win against the teams that are ahead of you. And not only do you have the Patriots ahead of you, if you're the Dolphins now, you got the Jets ahead of you. So you got 2 teams. You've also got the Bills to deal with, which if they have Tyrod Taylor, they're a much different team. So, that whole division is going to be a pain in the ass for Dan Campbell to deal with the rest of the year. And you still got other teams that are coming in that you have to play as well. So,
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that totally. And, you got to see what happens. But I do have one suggestion real quick for Miami. Houston. I just want to let, Houston fans know, if you want to go ahead and get rid of Bill O'Brien, you think he's done, you got to take a page out of the Miami Dolphins book. Hire a former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. I think Jay Novacek's available. He'll get that team motivated.
I think Jay Novacek will just be like, hey, dudes, whatever floats your boat,
I just thought of, a formula for success there. Dan Campbell's doing it.
Man, but if you look at Dan Campbell, he still looks like he can go out there and play right now.
Oh,
I don't know
you
about
bet.
Jay Novacek. I don't know about Tom.
No, he's not.
So let's move on to another game that was sort of out of hand, I guess you could say. The Cleveland Browns going into St. Louis and losing by a 24-6 score. And lots of fumbling.
Yeah, lots and lots of fumbling. They fumbled this game away quickly. The first score on the game happened off a fumble return. Cleveland's just not good. I don't care who's the quarterback. It looks like it's probably going to be Manziel now because McCown leaves the game late in the fourth quarter. So I guess there you go, Sean. You get your wish. We finally get to see what this is up to. But
Well, they're saying he's day to day.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, I mean, if you're, like you've been saying, if you're going to make a move, just do it. This gives them an excuse to. But there's just no help. I mean, your two leading receivers are your tight end and your running back, and your backup running back at that. I don't think Duke Johnson's even their starter, even though, I mean, Isaiah Crowell has become nothing. So Cleveland is just a mess. On the St. Louis side, I said it during the preview, and I'm 100% right. Just change the name to the St. Louis Girlies. This is his team now. And he showed it on Sunday. 19 carries, 128 yards. He gets his first 2 touchdowns. He has arrived. And it's just, I don't know how else to put it. But again, Cleveland, 4 fumbles. Just anytime it looked like maybe they'll make a move, they fumble and it was messed up. And there you go. So just ugly. So, Sean, I guess I'll just straight up ask you, is it time for Manziel?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is time for Manziel. Been saying it for the last 2 weeks now. It's time for Manziel. But I guess we had to lose a couple more before we finally get it. You got Arizona coming in. You're not winning that game either. Just come on. Like, who cares? Just, you know what? McCown's not the future. You need to see if Manziel's something, because at least they did something when he was there for the full game. The 2 times he's come in during the game, he didn't look great. But when you have a full week to prepare and everything, and you are the starter, you're getting starters reps, and it's all that, I think it makes a difference. And we'll have to see. And, Arizona's defense is also a good litmus test to see how good he really is, because Arizona's defense is pretty damn good. So, can he get anything going against a team that's actually going somewhere? So, that's going to be interesting to see if he does play, what they do.
Yeah, on the other side, like I said, it was all Todd Gurley the whole time. Nick Foles doesn't look that great. 15 to 23, 163, just doesn't get anything going. The passing game just there's nothing there. But they are 3-3. They are now a game and a half since Arizona won today out of the division lead. Gary, is there any chance St. Louis contends here for the division title?
They're a team that I feel like, is kind of scrappy. I like their defense a lot. I really, really do. I mean, and I've been standing on tables for these guys thinking that they could, be as good as a team like Arizona on defense. But I'll say this. I mean, as good as their running game is, I still worry about that passing game at times. I really, really do. I think that Nick Foles can do a few good things, but not a lot of great things. So that's my biggest concern here with them. I think that we could be seeing them getting close, being, right there in the mix, but I just am not ready to put them to that next level. I think they're not ready just this year. But, man, their future looks bright if they can keep that running game going and maybe get the passing game figured out somewhere down the line. I think they'll be okay, but maybe not this year.
Well, let's move it again to a much actually more exciting game, but against 2 teams that are kind of in the sort of the same mix we just talked about. Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveled to Landover, Maryland to take on the Washington Redskins, and they lose by a point after being up by almost the entirety of this game. And Jameis Winston wasn't really the guy I followed. He had a pretty good game, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns. Made Mike Evans look pretty awesome with his 164 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Mike Evans was everywhere. They did get kind of unsettling news with Lewis Murphy going down in a heap, and he didn't look good. He didn't come back for the rest of the game, and it looks like his injury's pretty bad. Doug Martin also, again, went off 136 yards. So that Washington defense that all of a sudden supposedly could stop the run, I think that's totally gone now. We can just put that to bed. And then speaking of the running game, Washington again didn't have it. I don't know what's going on with Washington's run game, but man, they are terrible. Just absolutely horrible. Like, Morris had 5 yards. Remember when Alfred Morris was good, people?
Didn't see that long ago.
Yeah, Matt Jones had like 29. It was terrible. No pass rush from either team, though. That was a big reason why you have these big stats for these quarterbacks. I think 1 sack for each guy. To me, like, you're not going to do anything if you can't get to the quarterback and pressure them. But the big key for the Bucs was during these times where Redskins were starting to come back, they had penalties that started hurting them. They had a 44-yard run by Charles Sims that would have really helped me, my fantasy, got taken away by the fact that they had a holding call. And then another offensive pass interference by Mike Evans took away an entire touchdown. Guess what happened on those 2 drives? 2 field goals. Guess what would have happened if they would have scored one of those touchdowns instead? They would have won the game. So again, this is why making stupid penalties, doesn't, Mike Evans, don't push the other guy to the ground and go, hey, I didn't do it. Idiot. Like, I know that's how you scored the touchdown, but you can't push the defender down and go, hey, I didn't do anything, and then expect that you're not going to get the offensive PI. It's just not going to happen. To Washington's credit, they were the first team this year to recover an onside kick, which kind of started their momentum. They also had a terrific goal line stand where Tampa Bay just decided that they wanted it. Jacksonville did it in their game too, and I forgot to mention it. Jacksonville went for it on 4th down even and ran 4 straight times. They got stopped 4 straight times. Well, Tampa Bay, 3 straight times get stopped. I mean, at some point, you think you would pass the ball. You have Jameis Winston back there. It's not just some bum. But either way, Kirk Cousins looked really good when he was actually making the comeback. The fumble that he makes is the run back for the touchdown that Jones gets that was like 60 yards or something. But I still think Kirk Cousins redeemed himself by leading the team to a 4th quarter comeback win. And Jordan Reed gets a touchdown there. Washington gets a big win over a team that, is in their same class. I think, there were whispers going around about, do you start activating RG3 or whatever if Kirk Cousins has another bad game? I think Jay Gruden actually was the one doing the offensive play calls for this game, and a lot of Washington Redskins fans were hating on that too. But I think, without a doubt now, Gary, there's no way you replace Kirk Cousins.
No way possible. Kirk Cousins is, had his, mishaps here and there, but the guy has been pretty consistent, if you ask me. He's given them the best opportunity to win. He's a guy that I think has enough smarts about him to continue and make things happen for this team when they need it. And it is proof in this game. I mean, I really feel like that, they could have got down in this game and, just kind of said, well, this is just going to be another loss. But no, they worked hard at this game. They made their way and they were able to win. And that shows a lot of not only poise, but to me, it shows a lot of, structure about who he is as a quarterback. So I just don't see yourself putting yourself through that circus again with RG3. You should be done with that. I think Kirk Cousins is your guy going forward.
And he didn't throw a dumb pick either. So, Randy, I already outlined for you some of the offensive issues, some of the penalty things. The defense was obviously not stopping Kirk Cousins on any of this stuff. Is this loss on the defense for not stopping the Redskins, or is this on the offense for not converting in the red zone there when all they had to do was score 6 and it would put it away?
I mean, as easy as it would be to say it's on the offense for not converting, down by the goal line, it is tough to always get a touchdown while you're down there. And listen, if you put up 30 points, you expect your defense to hold the opposition to under that. So you would think 30 points was good enough. So to me, I got to put it on the offense, on the defense as far as who to blame. You give up 31 points. Yes, Kirk. I mean, Kirk Cousins has a great game, but how much is that because, he's playing a terrible defense in Tampa Bay? So, yeah, I would put this on the defense.
All right. Yeah, I should mention that, it kept incrementally getting worse for Tampa Bay. It was 24-14 at one point. It gets to 24-21. Then they start getting the field goals, and then they get to, they let that last touchdown go in, and you can see the heart go out of that team just when that happens. It's just everybody's like crouched down, like can't believe we just lost after all that, and you have to wonder if that's going to affect them moving forward, as they do have to play the Giants, and I don't know in a after next week. I don't know who they play specifically this week coming up, but that's gonna be something to watch.
Yeah, and if you look for the Giants, who the Giants are playing next week.
Well, the Giants are playing the Saints next week. I'm talking about who the Bucks are playing next week.
Oh, well, the Bucks are actually going to be playing. Had it right here. Oh, they're going to be playing the Rams. No, that's San Francisco. Pardon me. Man, I just had it. Gosh darn it. I guess you can move on. I thought they were. Randy usually saves me in this enough.
I was looking up something else.
Sorry. Oh, they're playing the Falcons. The Falcons at Atlanta.
Oh boy.
We're professional.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
That should be fun.
Yeah.
Wonder if Jameis Winston's going to be scoring on that defense or not. But anyway, let's move it along to. We were just talking about those Saints. They keep winning, guys. What is this now? A 3-game win streak? 4-game win streak? I don't know how many games in a row, but
3 out of 4. They lost to the Eagles in there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did. But still, it's making that slow climb there, Randy. But Andrew Luck, I mean.
Yeah, what the hell, Luck? Jeez, just. Okay, so here's the. I mean, I'll break it down a little bit more. But here's the only stat you need to know in this game to understand how messed up this game is. The Indianapolis Colts, the darlings of the AFC South, they're going to blow this division out. We all said it. Some people had them in the Super Bowl. And also Andrew Luck, top 5 quarterback. Andrew Luck's first completion came with 9:09 left in the second quarter.
Wow.
In that time, he had thrown an interception. And in that time, Luke McCown, the backup quarterback for New Orleans, had thrown a completion. Jeez. That's how bad the beginning of this game was for Indianapolis. They finally get something going near the end of the first half, and Luck throws another interception right at the goal line. So the first half, just dreadful. They're down 20-0. It ends up being 27-0 at one point because basically Mark Ingram went back and found the old 2007 Indianapolis Colts defense and ran all over them. Because, the Colts have improved against the run, but boy, did it not look like it today. On Sunday. 14 carries, 143 yards, and a touchdown from Mark Ingram. Kyrie Robinson adds 2 more rushing touchdowns himself. They just could not stop them at all. It did not help that they were on the field for most of the first half because, again, the Colts offense was abysmal. But, give them credit, and here we go again with another game where a team completely blows out the other, but circumstances happen and it makes it look really close. The Colts turn it around. Crazy touchdown pass to T.Y. Hilton when a defender goes down to get the first touchdown, and then they go to the exact same play where T.Y. Hilton beats his defender who falls down to get it close, and all of a sudden they're down 6, and they go for an onside kick, and, we'd seen a few happen today. I forgot to mention the Jets also got an onside kick in their game to give themselves a chance, and then the illegal motion and all that junk and whatever. I don't want to talk about that anymore. But the Colts have a great onside kick in the hands of Moncrief, who drops it, and then the game ends, and there you go. But just for a team that was supposed to be, a Super Bowl contender, they are not looking like it at all, and I'm concerned. And Gary, I got to ask you, to me, okay, a thing I had not brought up, their offensive line is terrible. Mm-hmm. Just god-awful. But I think their main problem is they do not adjust their game plan to it. They still want Andrew Luck to take a 7-step drop and look for somebody deep. Yeah. And just tough. So is it a quick fix? Is it something they can change game plan wise, or are they just stuck with this?
Well, no, they can change that game plan because they need to figure out how to get Frank Gore more carries, how to make sure that anybody that they want to run this ball, even Bradshaw, just get somebody else besides Luck the ball at times to take pressure off Luck. I mean, let's be honest. The running game isn't working out too well, but they've got to figure out ways to game plan it better to have some success. The best way to take pressure off your offensive line is to get the running game going. And until they do that, they're going to continue to struggle. And, if they're looking deep, yeah, that's great. But you've got to get some of these short passes going. I think Andrew Luck is a smart quarterback. I think he can play small ball at times and, get quick passes out and make things happen. They need to look at the New York Giants. Let's just say this. They need to look at those Giants and look at their offensive line and how horrid that thing is at times. And realize, why is Eli Manning still winning games without an offensive line? Because guess what? Eli's getting the ball out quick. 1-2, ball's out. And, he has Odell Beckham on his team, kind of like their own T.Y. Hilton. They can make home runs, but, they don't do that all the time. They get it to Donnell. They get it out quick to other guys. So, hey, use Fleener. Use these other guys on this team. Short passes, and then try out deep pass every great now and again. Not all the time. So, I think they can make a game plan here and make it fit. But quick, they need to figure it out quick, because if they don't, they're done.
Yeah, and the problem is they get Carolina and Denver the next 2 weeks. So, not the easiest defenses before they finally hit that bye week. On the other side, I've kind of talked.
Panthers on Monday night too.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh,
a good one. On the other side, I said Mark Ingram just went ridiculous. Drew Brees was okay. He throws one touchdown pass to my favorite football name ever, Michael Humanui guy, whatever. I wrote it down because I wanted to attempt it. I failed it. I'm sorry, Michael. But Sean, are the Saints becoming more of a running team? And if so, is this a good sign for them to maybe make the playoffs?
Well, it is a good sign because they don't need to rely so much on Brees. They don't have that epic team anymore. They just, and Brees is showing his age at times. It's a fact. So the best way to take pressure off your quarterback is running the ball. And Kyrie Robinson coming in there, being the goal line guy, scoring those touchdowns, and Mark Ingram doing his thing that he was brought in to do from Alabama. So to me, I think if you're going more the running route, you're doing the smart thing if you're the Saints. But yes, we will move on to a game that the score makes it look like it was closer than it really was. And that's, give all credit you can to Drew Brees. Or not Drew Brees, sorry. Freaking Phillip Rivers. This guy is literally carrying this team on his back. He had no Antonio Gates in this game. He had no running game. I just feel so bad for Phillip Rivers. I mean, he still threw 2 interceptions, but he's trying to make his team come back. They get it all the way to 29, but at that point it really didn't matter. And I think the thing you need to take away from this is Oakland actually might be pretty damn good. And Amari Cooper, man, that dude is a stud. 52-yard touchdown run. He had another one where he just went through the defense. I mean, Derek Carr, 3 touchdowns. Look, the San Diego defense doesn't really stop people, and maybe you can put that in there as well. But I think honestly, Gary, if I'm losing my place here, not only is I have 2 questions for you here, Gary. It's, Amari Cooper, should he be in the running for Rookie of the Year already?
I definitely think so. I mean, this kid is on pace for 1,000 yards this year, receiving. He's helping his team. He's doing, doing really great. I mean, so without a doubt, I think he's got to be in that running. I mean, right now, still, I feel that the one guy that is definitely in the lead is Devontae Freeman. But when you're talking about in the running, oh yeah, this kid is one of the top guys in the rookie division.
Well, I think technically Freeman's not a rookie because he was there last year.
Was he there last year? I thought they said he was a rookie this year.
No, technically he was on the team last year.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah,
they were talking about him being a young back. I just did not realize that. But, I still think Amari Cooper is in the running. There's a few other guys that deserve it, but, yeah, for sure him.
I don't remember if he actually, played Devontae Freeman because they had Jaquiz Rogers and they had somebody else there last year. So
well, he's not
might
rookie.
Be meaning what they're saying. That, because sometimes it just depends. Like, sometimes they'll say, well, technically he's not a rookie, but he's a rookie because he's the first time he's actually doing something for the team. Or
yeah, I get that.
But I mean, to me, basically the AFC West now stops at. It's a 2-team race at this point, right? It's Raiders and if the Broncos ever lose, putting them in trouble. Do you think the Raiders are at any all legit here, or is this just a case of winning against bad teams? Or
I would sit here and love to say that they are legit, they have a big opportunity, but I mean it's still hard for me to say that. We've seen this team struggle mightily at times. I don't want to put them in that place just yet. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't think Denver's perfect at all. And Denver could have some stumbling times this year, but I don't think the Raiders are ready yet. I could see them kind of failing at that.
Sunday night could be their first. That's going to be really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's another undefeated team there. But, Randy, can we just go ahead and stick a fork on the Chargers?
Yeah, absolutely. They are very much done.
All right, well, Pittsburgh traveled to Kansas City, and they still lost, even without Jeremy Maclin, and with Andy Jones playing instead of Michael Vick for the whole game.
Yeah, and he actually looked pretty good. I was impressed with Landry Jones. He wasn't amazing by any means, but he did his job, and he looks a lot more. He plays a lot more like Big Ben than Mike Vick, and I think you could tell that in the way the offense played. Was they felt more comfortable with Landry Jones. He does throw 2 interceptions, but one is just ridiculous. Bounce off the receiver, goes 15 yards, and then a diving Eric Allen intercepts it. But Antonio Brown seemed to have a much better game. He gets over 100 yards receiving. Bell has another good game. So offensively, other than getting points on the board, it looked like they flowed a little bit better. Kansas City just were making the big plays when they needed to stop them from getting in the end zone often. And their offense is exactly what you'd expect, especially with no Jeremy Maclin. I mean, the passing game is extremely bland. Lots of tight end dump offs, a lot of running backs out of the backfield. Just nothing big, just kind of working their way down the field. I will say that West is not only is Charkandrick West the starter, he's at the backup and the water boy when it comes to the running back situation now in Kansas City. I mean, we can put to bed that Nile Davis has anything to do with this running game. He got 1 carry for 2 yards, while Chandrick West gets 22 for 110. They are all in on this kid. So if Gary, I'll ask you, you're our fantasy guy, so where do you rank West going forward on your running back list?
The West looked really good in this game. 110 yards and a touchdown, and I feel like they are going to make them the bell cow. You saw 22 carries in this game, and that's probably one of the leading guys carry wise in the league. Most teams are giving the ball out to different guys, and they did it a little bit here, but Kansas City's really trusting West. I still think that this kid may be at best a running back 2 on your roster, maybe even a flex. I think that he's good, but I think you should have some concern. Kansas City is struggling, and I think as they struggle, he will probably have some opportunity to struggle. So I think at best, running back 2 spot for me.
And on the other side, like I said, Landry Jones did look better than Mike Vick, and Big Ben most likely is coming back on Sunday against Cincinnati. That's the early words. We'll see how he does in practice. But at this point, if you're Pittsburgh, do you just cut Mike Vick, Sean?
Well, since we haven't made one yet on this podcast, we got to make a wrestling reference. Yes. Just do it now. Like there's, don't pull Daniel Bryan and stuff him on your roster. Just sitting there, just let him go. I mean, what purpose is he going to serve for you?
Yeah, give him that Frozen DVD. Let him go.
Yep, exactly. Well, Randy, you have one more game here left. The Vikings went into Detroit and they won. Wasn't always the most beautiful thing, but yeah, Stafford is probably hoping that he doesn't have to look at the Viking defense anymore.
Yeah, no joke. The defense definitely will give him nightmares. Sacked him 7 times. It seemed like he got hit on every play. I mean, to the point where it was like he would hand the ball off and they would just hit him just because they were so used to hitting him. So he would like to forget about this game, though. Let's be honest, he probably has forgotten it. He probably has like 10 concussions after this game. On the other side, listen, Stephon Diggs is the man for Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater loved to look at him and went for him, 6 for 108, a huge diving catch in the end zone. But to me, the whole story is all about the defense. Listen, Detroit got things rolling. They scored 14 points in the first quarter. They got 5 the rest of the game, and 2 of those were one of those, the punter just runs it out of the back of the end zone with a little bit of time left, so they're still up 9, and they'll punt it away, and they'll just end this game and not have to worry about it. Blair Walsh, great 5 for 5 for 53 yards, though it is concerning that the Vikings can't get it into the end zone when you have Adrian Peterson, who was mostly shut down for this entire game, but he gets a 75-yard run, which makes his numbers look better, but it seemed like every time he got the ball, he was just getting stuffed at the line. So it's tough to take anything from there. But, again, the defense looks great. Teddy Bridgewater is getting more comfortable with Diggs. So, Gary, is it out of the realm of possibility that Minnesota is actually a threat to Green Bay?
I think there's a few things that you've already pointed out that make this kind of obvious that I don't really feel that they are. I mean, sure, they're a upcoming team. Their defense is actually living up to what I thought they could earlier in this season, but I see this offense, and that's the biggest key here. As good as the connection is between Bridgewater and Diggs and trying to move the ball, I just see their red zone problems being the biggest key here because we all know Green Bay has no issue doing that, and I just think that they're not complete yet, and I think to really compete with Green Bay, you've got to be a complete team. So that's not in the realm of possibility just yet. But, a small threat, yes, but not a major threat.
I don't think they're a threat at all. So, I mean...
You never know.
No, the Lions are terrible. Their offensive line can't block anyone. I mean, this is not the first game we're talking about Stafford freaking running for his life. He's done that in every single game, pretty much. He just was able to avoid the rush much better last week because the Bears suck defensively. I don't, like, people have figured out how to shut Peterson down. It's not, like, that difficult. And when you make Bridgewater have to beat you, he normally doesn't. And the Packers defense is too good for that crap. I don't see it happening. I mean, they might give him trouble because it's a division game, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, that's where the small threat comes in. It's a division game, so anything can happen. But
but as far as like going on some run and you might overtake the pass. No,
that's not happening.
I'm kind of disagreeing, though, because listen, I mean, yes, they looked terrible in that first game against San Francisco, but they lose to 3 at Denver, who's also undefeated, and they've beaten everyone else in front of them. So, I mean, yes, the key and where the main test is November 22nd when they play Green Bay. So until then, we don't know. But listen, they're only 2 games out, and they're looking better and better. Teddy is getting more comfortable, and I'm not saying them beating the lonely Lions have now made them a contender, but I just like how they're improving. But, Sean, I'll go to you. I mean, you bring up Detroit and how terrible the line has been, and Stafford's just getting destroyed. He got x-rays on his hands. I think they were negative, and everything looks to be okay. But should they just sit Stafford for his safety? I mean, you're 1-6. Can they just go, okay, we'll see you next year?
No, they can't do that. What Gary said about Foster, you can't tell your team, hey, we're just not playing the rest of this year. No, you're paying Stafford all this money not for him to sit down. And same thing with Calvin Johnson. You're not paying any of these guys to not play. I mean, to me, you have to go out there. Yeah, it's a safety, whatever, but you have to. I mean, imagine if you're the other guy, Orlovsky or whatever. You think the line's going to block any better for him? If you send him that kind of message that we're just okay, we're quitting right now. It's just no, no way. Well, Gary, it's come to that time where we have to talk about the Cowboys losing yet another game without Tony Romo. They were close. Brandon and I did the game as part of the Rabble TV broadcast. I was just doing that game and having to call the moment where Cole Beasley just completely and utterly muffs that punt. Just, my heart sinks. It's terrible. Like, to me, the fact that you lose, and you know what? I don't think it was the right thing to do for Greg Hardy, but I totally understood Greg Hardy being hot because the defense did what they were supposed to do. The defense did a lot of what they were supposed to do, except they couldn't rush the passer. For major parts of this game, the offense sort of broke down in the second half. And then you lose the game on 2 special teams problems. Man, I totally kind of got Greg Hardy. It's the wrong time to do it. Don't go attacking coaches. They can't be going, they stand no chance against you. But I understood him being hot. That being said, Gary, I mean, what did you think about this? Like, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but...
Yeah, I mean, overall, this game all boils down to one thing for me. The Giants came to play. The Cowboys came to play, but not as ready as the Giants were. They didn't have their heads on straight, it seemed like. They were making mistakes. They fought, they tried. But it just seemed like they weren't going on all 4 phases. I think that the biggest key in this game for me was that Dallas pass rush, which was my whole argument. If everybody goes back and listens to the prediction show that we did this last week, my biggest argument for Dallas winning this game is that pass rush is going to get in Eli's face. Didn't do it as much. Didn't have that creative success. They did a little bit, not enough. If you give Eli the time, you give him the ability to get things done, which, once again, that's great game planning for Manning and, of course, Tom Coughlin, getting the ball out immediately. Get it out. That's the only way you're going to beat Dallas in this pass rush. They did it. They completed that process. So that was the biggest key. Special teams was terrible in this game for the Dallas Cowboys. But let's be honest, the Dallas Cowboys special teams has not been good all year. Just haven't been there. That's the mistakes that they made in this game to definitely lose. They were in it the entire way. I just feel like the Giants.
Not to mention the 3 interceptions on Matt Castle.
Well, let's take a look at Matt Castle. And, was it the right decision to play Castle? I'll say this. I think so. He did, sure. Some of those passes, you could say, maybe it was Castle's fault, but I'll say this: Terrence Williams, and it's been all over TV, showing Terrence Williams kind of not just really running that route. Camardi running that, he ran that route way better than Terrence Williams did. I just think that really Castle.
He really doesn't have an excuse. Castle was throwing him the ball.
Yeah. No, I think Castle was to blame on one big interception because he floated one deep down for the end zone. That was his fault, but the other one really wasn't. And the third one, still you can debate that too. So I feel like Castle still had a great game, got the ball down the field. He gave the Dallas Cowboys their best chance to win this game, and he didn't. But it's a team sport, right? So I don't think it was a bad choice.
I mean, to me, just.
When you bundle renters, save on both.
The hell? I guess that's Randy trying to tell us that we were talking about the Cowboys too much. But,
way too much.
No, looking up stuff and ads get me.
Yeah, it gets all of us, Randy.
No, I don't blame him. We probably take too much of this podcast doing this. But, yeah, I think, honestly, for one, hello, my boy Darren McFadden, he finally showed up. 29 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown. Screw Joseph Randall. Go have his stealing ass somewhere else. We needed to have McFadden sitting and doing this the whole time. He needed to be having a game where he was the lead back most of the time. I think Christian Michael, I still think he doesn't look ready. I don't know what it is, but he didn't, whatever salvation he was supposed to bring to the running game, he didn't bring it in this game. Honestly, the Giants didn't bring a pass rush either, except for when they decided to just do suicide blitz because they knew Castle was throwing on that play. But they, again, the same thing we talk about the Giants all year. They come and make the big play. Jarvis Cromartie doing that. This game really felt almost like the Week 1 game. Like, it was Jarvis Cromartie making a pick six. It was them making plays on defense. Eli Manning again has one of those just mediocre games, but this is when the running game stepped up. They had 132 combined yards between the 4 running backs because when Orleans Darkwa came in, they had no idea what to do with him because he wasn't game planned for, and he just ran him through him and got the touchdown. I mean, I don't know. I'll give the Cowboys credit for fighting back through the 3 interceptions with Castle. They had it until the end. All the stuff with the special teams really sucked, but it was more than just that. You have to play a better game than that. Hardy can get mad all he wants to, but he wasn't doing his job. And getting to he got to the quarterback one time when they switched him over to the right side and they had him going through Newhouse and Schwartz, who are still bad because the 2 sacks that came through there came straight through that part of the line, but it wasn't happening often enough, and that's the thing. Good, like you said, credit to the Giants and everything for that, for game planning and knowing that was going to be the Cowboys' strength. And then once you take that away, they were pretty mediocre on that part. So, Randy, I mean, the Jets now have to go to New Orleans, and they've been pretty good. But they lost to the last NFC East team they faced. Then they got to go to Tampa Bay. Then they've got to come and play the Patriots before they go on bye. Do you see the Giants making a run here after winning this game?
Yeah, I think they can go on a well, no. I mean, on the next few games, I don't see it. But to me, I don't think you really have to go on a run in this division. I mean, I do think they're now the favorites to win this division. Dallas isn't looking that great without Tony Romo, and they might have put themselves in too much of a hole to get back by the time he returns. The Eagles are just a mess. Washington is interesting, but I don't think they're quite there. So the Giants just have to continue to play good football. They don't have to go out and win 3, 4, 5 in a row to win this division. So as far as saying they're going to go on a run, no, but I think they're the front runners right now.
Yeah, well, I kind of do, just from the fact of you want to have separation, just in case, one of these teams, if the Eagles at some point decide that they want to be the Eagles and get hot and whatever. And I agree with you. I think the Cowboys might have put themselves too much in a hole. If they lose to the Seahawks at home on Sunday, which, man, that's going to take a miracle not to do. I think it's pretty much done as far as thinking about making the playoffs. Now, if they want to go around and play spoiler, they probably could. So especially when Romo comes back and everything. But I think that if you're the Giants, you always want to win. It's not just like if you're playing the Saints and the Bucks, you got to take care of those games. Those are teams you're supposed to beat if you want to do anything. Now you go to the Patriots, and if you don't beat them, that's fine, whatever. But you still need to be winning the games that you should win. That being said, speaking of those Eagles, they played in the Sunday night game against Carolina, and the defense showed up. All three of their big-time corners got interceptions on Cam Newton, even though neither one of those were his fault. One of them was Ted Ginn basically pulling the Eagles basically pulled what they pulled on the Giants twice. He came, and I think Carroll came and just ripped the ball away from Ginn, and he got an interception as he was coming down with the ball. And then the other two were just passes that the player gets hit or the ball kind of goes off their hand and it's interception. So, Cam didn't have the greatest of games, but he got a rushing touchdown. He had him in it till the end like he always does. And then, of course, the Eagles offense, because Sam Bradford's terrible, just doesn't do it when the game is on the line. And now, to be fair to Sam Bradford, some of his receivers were dropping passes this time around. It wasn't all on Bradford, but he has, 205 yards, an interception, no touchdowns. Ryan Matthews once again outperforms DeMarco Murray. He has a big, 63-yard long touchdown. And Murray's good 65 yards. I thought that maybe the Eagles would figure it out, but I guess not. Bradford also got sacked 5 times and was running for his life various times during this game. Just this offensive line is horrible. That being said, the defense didn't help either. They couldn't stop Jonathan Stewart. And, just Cam Newton doing what he does. Just keeping them in the game and doing enough for them to win. Speaking of Cam Newton, Randy, should Cam be in the consideration for MVP?
Should Cam?
Yeah, Cam Newton. Should you be maybe saying...
No. Listen, it's a great story that they're 6-0. It's even better that he's basically doing it with no receivers. He's making Ted Ginn Jr. look great. But as far as MVP goes, I can't put him in the same category as a Tom Brady. So as far as quarterbacks go, he's a great story, but he is not really playing MVP level wise.
Well, can you say they're a legit playoff contender?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're 6-0, but they're playing great. Their defense is good. They're finding ways to get points on the board, even though without Kelvin Benjamin, and they're beating good teams. So, absolutely, they're playoff contenders.
Well, I'm saying when they get to the playoffs, do you see that they could beat some of these teams that are supposedly ahead of them?
Yeah, listen, Seattle's having a down year right now, but they did go into Seattle and beat them on the road. So, to me, they could beat anyone.
All right. Fair enough. Well, Gary, they've already said Chip Kelly said he's not making a change during the bye week at quarterback. Should he?
You know what? For me personally, I think you should definitely consider it. Is it time? I'm not sold it's time, maybe. But, you still are in the race. You still have a chance That's the biggest key here for me. You still have a chance at the playoffs. You still have the opportunity to make it. Maybe they're thinking long-term here. Maybe they're thinking they can work Radford, and really complete maybe the process. This is his first year in the system. This is his first year, trying to get things worked out with this whole team overall. So maybe that's why they're giving Bradford so much time. But, man, I'm thinking to myself, Sanchez had a lot of success last year with this offense. He did a lot of good things. Sure, in the long run, it wasn't successful. But at the same time, I don't think that was all on Sanchez. So it's hard for me. It really is. I would definitely consider it. And the longer you wait, the more opportunities you are losing on winning, this division, and not only that, winning games. So I don't know if it's time yet. Maybe I agree with Kelly in a way, but then again, I would only give him maybe 1 or 2 more games, and I'm done.
All right, fair enough. Well, that pretty much does it for... Oh, I forgot to mention, guys, the Lions did fire offensive coordinator and a few assistants. You think that does anything for that offense that Randy was saying that they need to go ahead and sit Mr. Stafford for safety? Does getting somebody else in there calling the plays and making is that going to make a difference?
No, because I don't think they have the talent that Miami does. So I don't think you're going to see the same kind of spark that a coaching change made for that team.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. That's not going to help the offensive line any.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, now we can move it along. Randy, do you have some college football stuff to...
Yeah, there wasn't much as far as, big news happening. A couple big things, though. Number 3, Utah going down to USC, so the playoff picture takes another big twist, and all of a sudden the Pac-12 is even more confusing. Washington State's now 5-2. They screwed me over in our pick'em. I have a good day. I go 7-3, but I lose my 10-pointer because the stupid Cougars. But I guess the big story, and it wasn't anything on our pick'em, but was once again we have a crazy game come down to a special teams play. This time a long field goal that gets blocked and returned. So Florida State goes from kicking a game-winning field goal to losing the game. So just another one of those wacky plays that you see in college football. But other than that, it wasn't that impressive of a week. Clemson completely drubbing Miami and kind of putting themselves in the playoff contention was nice to see. But other than that, pretty quiet college weekend.
What do you think about...
costing a freaking 10.
Yeah. Man, I'm just glad that I didn't just totally get on the toilet. I was pretty okay.
Baylor got a huge...
Yeah, that was what I was going to...
being out. No. Is that going to really come down and affect their undefeated chance? Or?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They still got TCU left, so if you're not going into that game 100%, it's troubling.
I thought their backup was pretty decent.
Yeah, but still, when you go in with a starter and you focus on him, then going to the backup, even though in college a lot of times they can take the place pretty well, you just never know. So,
Gary, what do you think?
I agree. This is still risky. The backup I'm sure is okay at best, but man, you lose a talent like that on your team, it's never good. The teams that they've got coming up, that's just that really is a formula for danger for the Baylor Bears. So I have concerns. If this kid can do like the Notre Dame backup quarterback, that would be pleasant for Bears fans, but let's be honest, I'm not sure that's going to happen. I don't think lightning strikes twice for the backup quarterbacks.
All right. Well, that's all for our college football stuff then?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, Gary, what are your fantasy pickups for Week 8, your fantasy sleepers?
All right, guys. Well, a few guys on this list, I think maybe you may have them on your teams, you may not, but one guy I want to mention is Detroit's Theo Riddick. He continually continually is getting passes out of the backfield. He's running the ball a little bit. Let's be honest, Detroit is not doing great, but guess what? This kid is still catching passes out of the backfield. So if you're a PPR guy, he's a guy you want to look out for. You never know what week he's going to have a big game. So if you're desperate for a running back, if you lost Arian Foster and you're in a deep league, hey, he's somebody to look at. Marvin Jones for Cincinnati. He was Cincinnati's leading receiver the week before this one, and so he was definitely a big target for Andy Dalton. I think that you can consider him a guy, maybe a wide receiver 3 or even just a flex guy if you're in real need of a receiver. Look at Rashard Matthews from Miami. Now this guy, it just really continually stays on the stat sheets. Tannehill always finds a way to find him. I think that's another guy you may put on your roster if you really need a receiver. He could surprise you one week. And, of course, I want to say this because of Arian Foster's injury. Chris Polk, this kid from Houston, he is not really the lead back, but he could very well be a big part of that running situation, especially with Foster being gone. Alfred Blue is the other guy they have, and Blue has been kind of up and down in his play. So Polk is going to be a kid that's going to not only run the ball, but he's going to catch some passes. I always like that. And my number 5 for this week is C.J. Spiller. I know. Everybody thinks he's dead and gone, but guess what? This week he had some success. I think he could be one of Drew Brees' guys coming up. I think Drew Brees is starting to figure out how to use him, how he wants to kind of put him in this offense. So I'm not saying he's the next vision of what Drew Brees had with Sproles, but I think he could be close. So C.J. Spiller's a guy I think you need to look out for.
All right, well, we got to get to our top 5 power rankings, in which I'm pretty sure most of them haven't changed a whole lot since, we have seen 3 of the big undefeated teams run by. So
yeah, so it's tough to move things around when nobody plays. So Patriots still 1, Packers still 2, Bengals still 3. I think I had the Panthers 4 last week, so I think they stay the same. And to me, Arizona wins, so they I thought about putting them up there in place of the Jets, but I'll give it to the other undefeated team finally. They have a bye week, so they didn't do anything wrong, so give me Denver.
I kind of changed mine up a little bit this week, and it may be a knee-jerk reaction, but I just kind of feel like it was the right move. I still got my number 1 is New England. Sorry, just to me, they're the team to beat in this league. Green Bay is right there, right behind them. But looking at the third team, Cincinnati has to stick right where they are as well. I still feel like that defense and that offense are clicking right now. Now, my number 4 did change. I got the Arizona Cardinals at number 5, but Carolina is my number 4. Carolina is a team that I think is continually showing that they can do it. They can take care of business. Randy mentioned it earlier. They could legitimately beat anybody. Now, why did I make Arizona my number 5 and take Denver out of this equation? I look at that defense and I really get excited. I think that they can do something, and their offense is just as good. I really feel that way. Denver, they're really focused on the defense. Offense, I'm a little bit nervous. I think that they could start to have some mishaps here and there. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out early on Denver's bandwagon and get Arizona on my top 5.
I've got New England 1, Green Bay 2, Carolina stays at 3 for me. They beat an Eagles team that had just won last week. Cincinnati stays at 4. I got Arizona at 5 over Denver because they won. They won a rough game. Their defense looks good, and you have to wonder going forward, really, can Denver do that all year? I just don't know. And we'll have to see if they do it again against Green Bay next week. So all we got left to do is pick our player of the week. But let's run it down just in case this is your first week joining us. Carlos Hyde was our week 1 winner. Tom Brady was week 2. AJ Green week 3. Week 4 was Devontae Freeman. Week 5 was Eli Manning. And week 6 was DeAndre Hopkins. So this week you have Rob Ninkovich for New England with 4 pass deflections.
Yeah, listen, when we come down to the vote for the overall player of the week, do I think he's going to win? No. But obviously, there was one game that I focused in on more than any other, and of course it was the Jets-Patriots. And it seemed like anytime the Jets were on any kind of roll, there was Nikovic making a disruptive play. So I just wanted to give him a shout-out. He played awesome, and I just don't think he gets enough. I mean, obviously we don't hit the defense very well here as far as players of the week, but I just wanted to give him his due.
Well, there probably will be a time where we do hit the defensive player. Just, it's been some big offensive things going on, and then this week is another one of them. There where you could pick a few guys, but I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins. 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards, led his team to come up from behind win, whereas Tannehill was leading the whole time, and his defense basically just had to ride it out. I think Cousins had the more impressive, and not to mention, Tannehill really didn't do a whole lot for some of those touchdowns. Some of those touchdowns were clearly Jarvis Landry doing the work. He just made the pass. And it wasn't like a pass where it's like, oh yeah, you did it, good job, whatever. So to me, Kirk Cousins should get it. Gary apparently has Kirk Cousins as well.
Well, actually, that's debated. Actually, I just wrote that down on a run sheet, but I want to bring this up, guys, because my actual pick is different than what I wrote down here, simply because I feel like this guy is definitely deserving. He was in the doghouse for a lot of us earlier this year. In fact, I think a lot of fantasy players dumped this guy and said he's a worthless piece of trash. And now, all of a sudden, I think everybody's scrambling to try to find this guy. I think Lamar Miller is my personal pick this week. 14 carries, 175 yards, and he did get a touchdown in that mix. I mean, wow, what a great game for this guy. I mean, it just amazed me how well he did. He just kind of lived up to his potential. I think another guy, Todd Gurley, also should get some mention, but Lamar Miller was my guy, but I looked at this and I said, well, if we're going to be equal and we just got to choose somebody, I guess I would have to go with Cousins, but do you guys want to change your mind? I'll just go ahead and put Miller as mine. Am I going to have to be the guy that chooses this week, or I think that really Randy? I mean, what do you think? Who should choose?
It probably should be me, because I don't think Nikovic is going to win.
But yeah, I think it's
plain
a good
and
pick.
simple.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you guys put the other two choices that I even thought about. I mean, I know a lot of people wanted to put, like, maybe a Ryan Tannehill as the player of the week, but to me, I think his receivers did most of his work. But Lamar Miller was completely awesome, and that team completely blows him out.
That was all in the first half, too. He didn't play in the second half.
He didn't need to. But to me, I'm going to go with Sean with Kirk Cousins. They don't have a running game, so it was really all on him, and he did a great job leading his team to a victory. So I'm gonna go with Sean with Kirk Cousins.
I like that. That's a good choice.
All right, so there you go. Kirk Cousins is our player of the week, and that does it for this episode. Well, not episode. This does it for this recap edition of the Futbol to Futbol podcast. Of course, we will be back on Friday morning doing a Week 8 preview, and of course doing a little post game for that Dolphins-Patriots game, which hopefully is entertaining. And I will be back with Brandon on Ravel doing a doubleheader of the Cowboys and Seahawks, and then taking a little 1 hour break, and then doing the Packers and Broncos for Sunday Night Football. So I'm going to be like totally gassed by the time that thing's over. So, but yeah, should be interesting and should be a fun time, especially with, two undefeateds going against each other there on that Sunday night. So, but yeah, I mean, we do have some plugs to get to. Of course, that WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view just happened. We did our review for it, so you should go check that out if you cared about the show. And of course, we'll be having another co-op multi at some point during this week. But Randy had a bunch of Mario Maker things and did a big vote for the backlog busting. You tell people about it, Randy.
Yeah, every Monday we post our attempt to play some of the Mario Maker levels that are out there, and The ones that just came out tonight actually are 2 attempts of Wes trying to play expert levels. So if you want to watch somebody completely fail at a game, like to the point that he just fell apart, it's great. Please check those out. It's at the Backlog Busting Project on YouTube. We just recorded our podcast that comes out tomorrow, where we talk about Alien Isolation and the Resident Evil remake and the Back to the Future game by Telltale. You can check that out at backlogbusting.com, along with some articles and just goofiness.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody's enjoying their Halo that just came out at midnight as well. So I can't wait till I actually have some money, maybe later down the line, to get that, because I'm a huge Halo fan. But all right, that's enough of all that stuff that has nothing to do with football. We'll be back on Friday morning. Until then, hope you enjoyed our recap, and you can let us know by subscribing or just giving us a review on iTunes and Stitcher, or just listening to us wherever there are podcasts. We are there, and you can also just subscribe to the WTM Network if you heard any of those other podcasts that I just mentioned and said, hey, I want to listen to those. You can just have them all there with you. So, all right. Well, later, everybody.